Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 180. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zaberwolf. We're going to be talking about the Peacemaker finale and Peacemaker's future in the DCU. We're going to be talking about Gen V and some other nerdy news in between. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and if you're watching us on a replay, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. Without further ado, here we go. What's up, dude?
Hey man, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm hungry. Sorry, so I'm gonna be
Eat away,
eating
bro.
more.
Eat away, dude. I know you're just literally finished work, so chow down, bro. I don't mind. Hope you had a good week. How's things?
Great so far. I have surgery on Friday.
Oh shit!
So yeah,
Was
that's
that
gonna
out
be
of the blue,
interesting.
or was it planned? Or
It's
what?
planned.
Yeah.
Basically, I have 3 wisdom teeth that I need to get removed. So
Jeez, you scared me for a second, bro. I was
yeah, I
like,
know. Like
surgery, like Jesus. I was like, okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That it's not. It's, obviously it's not like nothing or anything. Like obviously getting those teeth out is a big deal. But I heard surgery and I was like, oh shit.
textbook TV drama. You say the
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
first, don't explain it until later.
yeah. Literally cliffhanger and bail.
I have surgery tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. And then just fade to black. What's gonna happen next week? No, that's cool, man. That's cool. You're getting 3 out.
Yeah, I have 2 on top and 1 on the left.
One of my best friends got all 4 taken out one time. This was when he was probably about 22 or 23, I think. And I remember knocking, like we were neighbors at the time. I remember knocking into his house, and he answered the door, but like he only opened the door like a little creak, and he was just like, I couldn't see him, and I was just like, here, let me in. What the hell? And he's like, here, man, I have to ask you, can you please just not laugh when you see me? And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what's wrong with you? And he goes,
Like,
I'm in so much pain right now that if you laugh, I'm gonna laugh, and I'm probably gonna pass out from the pain. And I was like, Jesus, bro. And I was like, okay, I'll try not to laugh. Like, what the fuck? And then he opens the door, and he looked like, do you remember? What was that movie? Oh my god. Do you remember the Eddie Murphy movie where what was it called?
the Nutty
Where he
Professor?
Yes, yeah. Do you remember when he
Yeah.
first like transforms back to the fat guy and only his face goes first? That's what my friend looked like. And I was just like, I was standing at the door, like, and like his door was like up a couple of steps. So he was like looking down on me as well. And I was kind of just standing there, just like, oh my god, bro. I was like, holy shit. And he's like, man, he's like, I know. And I was like, I was just trying my hardest not to laugh. And I was like, I won't laugh, I swear, I swear. And I just sat down, and a couple of minutes later, I was like, man, like that is shocking. Like, and he's like, man, I know, it's insane. But yeah, he got all 4 taken out of one go, and just it completely blew up his entire face. So
Was he impacted or something? Because that sounded like a lot of work.
yeah, I don't know exactly what the ins and outs of it was, but I just know he needed them out, and I think they needed to come out quick. So
Yeah.
yeah, scary,
Yeah.
scary. What's up, Dan? How are you?
It is scary, man. Because like, luckily, all of my teeth are erupted, and that's a good sign. That's a good thing. So erupted means that they've reached like the past the gums. They're at a good spot.
Yeah.
They're not still inside your gums. So like, if they're impacted, that means they're kind of like off. Maybe they're curved in or something, and they're not coming out the right way, and they're like impacting other teeth at that point. So luckily, I'm good to go. So they said it should take about an hour, maybe.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. And when's that happening? On Friday, did you say?
Friday at noon.
Okay. And I presume you have the rest of that day booked off work, and you're probably just going to chill for the weekend, just in case.
Um,
Say it might kind of fuck you up a little bit anyway.
Oh yeah, it will. So since it's in the afternoon, like I told them like, hey, can I just work extra hours during the week and then not show up Friday? And they're like,
Cool.
yeah, like just make it so that it looked like you work on Friday anyway.
Right. Okay.
Because they don't. It would be weird if they show like if I show like 8 and then like nothing or like 2 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, hang on a second, these guys could do it in 4. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's hilarious. I don't, man. I hope it goes well. I'm sure it will be fine. I'm sure it's not going to be a big deal. But look,
Yeah.
just ping me anyway. If you need to maybe take next week off, just let me know. Like it shouldn't be a deal. Like I know like some people you might find it a bit difficult to sit and chat for 2 hours next week. So just let me know. You might be fine. But if you need to take time off, just let me know. It's all good.
Sure thing. I mean, if anything, I might just be on the painkillers that they give me.
That could make for a great episode. I mean, more so if you're like physically kind of still recovering, maybe not able to talk.
No, just imagine me all loopy. It's like, let me tell you something about the DC that you don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's something about Star Wars. I'll tell you. Strap in. Yeah, tonight on the cast, I've got a good bit. Like, I was actually literally jotting down a bunch of notes. Like, I have a bunch of shit to talk about. First time in a while that I've actually like kind of jotted down stuff. So, last couple of episodes have just kind of been off the cuff. So, I did say I'm gonna, try and actually structure this episode as much as I can. So, we got the Peacemaker finale, Gen V. There was a bit of news around Daredevil season 2. I don't know if you heard, but Jessica Jones, the actress, leaked the trailer. Hilarious. We can talk about that. The Invincible season 4 trailer dropped. What else? Just a few Netflix shows that I finished and movies and stuff like that and TV shows and stuff. Also wanted to just say before we started talking about stuff, pretty cool feature that YouTube just put out, but they've added a thing called auto dubbing and they're rolling it out to all channels, but our Marvelous Chats Clips channel actually has it at the moment. So this channel here, Marvelous Chats Clips, you can actually go onto that channel and you can switch some of our latest clips into different languages. So, if your first language is like French or Italian or German or Spanish or whatever, you can go and listen to us in those languages, which I think is absolutely hilarious. And I'm hoping that like full episodes over time will start getting dubbed out in other languages. But what's really scary is like the AI voices, it actually sounds like it's me and it sounds like it's you actually speaking these languages, which is crazy. So it's hilarious, man. Like, it's so funny. And it's just obviously, a lot of people are afraid of AI at the moment, and rightly so, I think. But, there's some really cool things that are coming around AI, this being one of them, which I think is an amazing feature. I never would have even thought to, our channel's not big enough, and I don't think it ever would be big enough that we would have to hire some voice actors to do the show in Spanish and then put it up on a Spanish only channel or whatever, like some of the bigger YouTubers do, that sort of stuff. That is all like kind of dead now, like it's kind of crazy. Some potential like channels that I could think of, like Mr. Beast, for example, or like Matt Armstrong, the car guy, like these guys have like Spanish channels and they just re-upload the same content again, but just with like voice actors and stuff. And that whole thing is just going to be gone, because now, like, depending on what language you are, you just flip the language or set the like French as your default, and you're going to be able to watch the entirety of YouTube in French if you want. It's fucking crazy, bro.
And then Andre will judge it.
Yeah. I'll like, he could listen to this in German or whatever. I don't even know what I think it's German is his first language.
Is it? Oh, I could have sworn he was French.
No, he's not French, but I think he is German, or like I can't remember. I think he's German, but he's like spent a lot of time in Italy as well, and I think he can speak some Italian as well. Maybe, I'm not sure. He can listen to us in either, or just English, whatever.
I am terrible in dialects. Like, I can't even do I can't even do a voiceover of something. If I try to do Jamaican, it's gonna like segue into Italian or like into Mexican or something.
It's very funny. After this, go and listen to a few of the clips. Like, I was listening to you in like Indonesian, and it sounded hilarious, bro. And it sounds just like you. Like, it's so funny. It's really cool. And there was one of the clips, it was us talking about like the Earth X thing in Peacemaker, and us talking about like Hitler and like the Germans winning the war, and listening to that in German, I thought was quite funny too. So yeah. But yeah, let's crack into it. We're nearly 10 minutes here. So Peacemaker, the finale. What did you think?
Hold on. I took one bite. I was hoping it a little more time.
Dan says AI can't even play chess.
Not yet, but eventually it will.
Some of the videos and shit I'm seeing, like, holy crap. Some of the stuff, like, I'm getting tricked by some things. Like, there's like some pictures going around at the moment. Like, there was one of apparently like John Cena, and he was supposed to be like beside a dude who like was like looked just like him, and then it turned out to be fake. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, because again, you're kind of looking at this stuff, but you're not like, I'm not like over analyzing these things. I'm kind of just like doom scrolling, and I'm kind of like, oh, cool. John Cena saw a guy that looks like, and I'm looking at it closer. I'm like, geez, that guy like looks just like him. And then it turns out to be a fake picture. I'm like, holy shit. Yo,
Did you
Andre, what's your what's
ass?
your what's your what's your what's your first language? We were literally just talking about you before you got here. So I was only just talking about the YouTube dubbing, and we were saying that you could potentially listen to us now in your native language, which I think is pretty fucking sick.
And to tack on to the whole AI
Romanian.
situation.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry, yeah, go on.
Romanian. Oh, cool. So like, did you see any of the TikToks that some people are doing with Macho Man?
No. Is this like a
Yeah, they're
Sora thing?
yeah, it's a Sora thing. Like they're putting
Yeah.
Macho Man in a bunch of stuff. Like they had him like as basically Mr. Rogers.
Oh god.
he had the cardigan and everything on, and like, and he was trying to like showcase that he had loafers on, but then he was like,
Mhm.
I got to put on some shoes. Yeah, I got. He's like, it's like it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Oh yeah. It was
Yeah,
really good. I love
hilarious.
stuff like that, man.
It's gonna get fucking wild, bro. Like I was watching some video, and again, it starts out, it looks like a real clip, and it's like someone doing like free running and stuff like that, and then they get hit by a car, and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? And then it turns out that it's fake, and you're like, what the hell? Like, so I see it becoming a real problem in a couple of years, anyway, for sure. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, like in a couple of years' time, this show could be ran by AI. We might just throw in a few prompts, and we won't even be here. We'll just be chilling with our feet up. You never know. Will it keep you on your toes?
And then somehow you see like an extra finger pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, like the like three fingers by mistake, like during a hand movement or something.
Yeah.
Um, Andre brings up Grok AI. Actually, funnily enough, I was only watching a dude who I used to know years ago. We're still friends on Facebook. I occasionally boot up Facebook just to kind of check some news and stuff like that. But he is doing this cool thing with Grok where he's an artist, and he's turning his art pieces using Grok into like 5 second long animations by just uploading one picture. So he had like one picture of like these like futuristic like cyberpunk looking characters that he drew, and they're like standing face to face, and then he turned it into like a short, and basically the AI made them like kind of kiss and stuff like that, and then it did like a pan around, and you got to see the other side of the characters' faces that he never even drew. Like I'm just like,
Oh
whoa,
wow.
that shit's crazy, like, right? Like the endless possibilities. Like I think, again, I haven't really fucked around with it, but some of the stuff that I would like to do for like this channel, even like with animations and stuff like that, I haven't really messed around with AI too much myself, but I could probably do all this with AI now for free,
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I might start messing around with it a little bit myself. I've been kind of staying away from it for the moment. I don't really like it right now. I don't really trust it, but
Oh,
um,
I just laugh at it. Like there's no like in terms of what's going on right now, especially like in politics and whatnot, which like I'm not going to divulge into politics. I just be aware like as viewers of those kinds of like videos, like anything can be said at any point now that can be fake.
oh
So
yeah, 100%.
it's really
Like,
messed up. Like people don't even have to splice things anymore because it used to be like all about splicing. You'd have them talk about stuff and like they would splice in a word that hasn't even been mentioned like until later on in the video, and then they kind of cut that in, and then you can like kind of base it on that, and so then they say something that they actually didn't ever say.
mhm.
It's fucked up, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see it being a real problem. And I think as well, they're going to really have to look into something, whether it's some sort of like, I thought like NFTs and stuff would have been the way to do it. Like, like watermarks that live on a blockchain or something like that, that would be able to authenticate the real user or something like that. Like, like my logo, like this logo here, like my face. I could like turn this into an NFT or something, and then if I like print this on any post that I put up as like a watermark on the image, that could like be an authentication that this is something real that I've put up or something. Like, I think they need to do something like that, where because like again, when it gets to the point where you can't even tell real life from it anymore, like I feel terrible for people in the public eye who, like Joe Rogan, for example, like they're going to be able to just, because again, his face is just all over the internet. Every word can just be, they could just put him into a program and just have it spit out anything, and it's going to look real. And they've got so much footage of his face and everything. It should be simple to just make fake videos, like, so a lot of people, especially the older generation, I think, are just going to get really tricked out by this for a long time. I think younger people will cop on to what's AI and what's not a lot easier. But I'm thinking of the older generation, like my parents, like, you know what I mean? Like in 10 years time, like what's it going to be like for them when they start seeing shit online, and I have to be like, yeah, that's not real or whatever, it's going to be tough, I think. And I know
It's
my missus is talking about getting off social media altogether. Like she kind of hates it. And, for me, like, I'm kind of like, I understand, but I feel like I need to kind of be, have to have my finger on the pulse with regards to all the news and stuff like that. Like, and I
well,
don't know.
and you stream, dude. Like, there's no
Yeah, of
getting
course.
out of it.
No, definitely not. And like, you could take a bit of a backseat on uploading content to social media and stuff. Like that's one thing, but um, I I don't think you can be fully gone from it, and want to be kind of still in the know, especially like doing the podcast and stuff. Like I like to know what's going on with Marvel and DC and Star Wars and all these things, and listening to other podcasts, and reading spoilers and scoops and all that sort of thing. So like for me, it's more of like, it's nearly a necessity, you know what I mean? But I can
Right.
understand why someone like my missus, who doesn't really use it for anything other than kind of like looking at her friends' pictures and pictures of her friends' kids on Instagram and stuff like that. Like it's probably a lot easier for her to step away than it would be for me. But I can understand why somebody would want to do that, because it is extremely toxic out there. Like, and the algorithms aren't really to be trusted. Like, even I've done this test myself where I've looked at the exact same post on my own phone and her phone, and looked at the comments, and the comments that are fed to you are just completely different from both phones. So it's two different algorithms feeding you the exact same story, but with a different outcome. Like, so, that's all needs to be investigated. Like, that's weird for sure. But anyway, enough about this weird shit. Let's jump into Peacemaker. What did you think of the finale?
You know what? It was okay. I think it was pretty decent. I think that they were just trying to close they were trying to close the chapter pretty quickly. And they didn't have much else to kind of really roll off of,
Mhm.
because it really felt like it was rushed at the end of it.
Yeah.
Considering that there was so much of a high note on episode 7, and then we don't necessarily get anything else that's like super crazy other than just them like checking out the different worlds, which honestly, like, I don't know if like they couldn't get the rights or anything, but I really had hoped when they had opened the door and they showed like that area that was like full of like candy and stuff, I was
Mhm.
like, dude, did they just find fucking Candyland? Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
would have been kind of sick if they had actually found it, and they had stated as such. I don't know if it's trademarked, or it's probably like a Hasbro product, right?
yeah.
So like,
I I know I know that Gunn came out and said that he approached Ryan Reynolds to get Deadpool to be through one of the doors. Now, you know, I think it's I'm sure Ryan Reynolds probably would have said, "Yeah, cool, let's do it," or even just use a guy in a suit or whatever, and I'll record a voice line for you or something. Like, he doesn't even need to be there. But um, I would say Marvel probably wanted nothing to do with that. I think it's a much bigger decision, rather more so than just Ryan Reynolds going, "Yeah, go ahead, here's a suit." Like, um, but that would have been really cool, I think.
yeah, because
Very,
then
very, very bold move if they did do that crossover.
yeah, but then like we would have had that opportunity for people to just be a buzz and then go like, oh my god, are we finally getting crossovers like they do in the
Yeah.
comics, like
Oh man,
clashing.
if it was my decision, I would say yes, 100%, no brainer. Go for it. Just do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even like the buzz that would have on Twitter or whatever, like, just, everyone just going, holy shit, fucking Deadpool was in the finale for Peacemaker. Everyone would be like everyone would have to watch that, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the finale itself, for me, I don't think it was very interesting. I don't think a lot actually happened. It was quite, like, I know I saw they were saying maybe 2 weeks before, hey, the finale's going to be an hour long, it's going to be great. And I was like, oh, wow, great, an hour long finale. This is fantastic. And then, you watch it and not a massive amount of stuff happens. Like, yes, they do close a few doors, pun intended. But, it just felt kind of weak. Whereas like episodes like 5, 6, and 7, I thought were really good. Like the start of the season was a bit slow. We were kind of just going with the motions. Then it started to
Mhm.
ramp up a lot, and then it kind of just dropped off in the final episode. And I feel bad because the show's not doing great. There's all these rumors floating around that DC is about to be sold to Paramount, and if they do, they don't like James Gunn, and they're going to fire him, and the DCU is going to be dead already, and they're going to reboot and start again, and all this crazy shit's going on. And now they're saying like, there's no future for Peacemaker after this, and maybe he'll show up in a movie down the line. And spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the finale yet, but um, in the finale, basically, Rick Flag Senior opens up a door to another world and wants to use that door as a prison. So they want to use that other Earth as a prison to send all the metahumans off Earth
Mhm.
and to get rid of them all. And basically, the end of the show is him throwing Peacemaker into that other world and closing the door and going, see you in a few months. We're going to use you as a test subject to see how humans survive on this world or whatever. And that's it. And then the show ends, and it kind of I think you hear like dinosaur noises or something like that as it pans out and it fades to black, and that's the end. And to think that that could be the end of Peacemaker altogether is kind of sad in my opinion, because while most of the finale was kind of like meh, it ended with Checkmate being formed, and then that's pretty cool if you read the DC comics. Like Checkmate are an organization within the DC universe. So I was like, oh shit, they're starting Checkmate. That's pretty cool. And then obviously Peacemaker gets taken, thrown into this alternate universe, and that would have been great to see as well. And even if we bring Peacemaker back, you know, they're not going to. I can't imagine that they're going to expand that story in like a Supergirl movie or Superman 2 or some other movie, like or some other TV show. I don't think they're going to
Mhm.
go that deep into it. So really, they'll probably do a thing if he does show back up again. They'll probably do a thing where he just shows up back into DCU, and they'll be like, "Oh, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a few months." And he'd be like, "Oh, that's a story for another time," or something. Like he'll just say something like that. They won't even tell us where he's been or anything. Or maybe his hair will be longer, and we'll just be like, "Oh, well, okay, so he's been like in the deserted world for a little while, but we will never know what happened there," which kind of sucks because the way the season ended for me, I was like, oh shit, that's actually quite interesting, and I really want to see what happens next. And it's kind of sad to think that we actually we might never know.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, and Vigilante as well. Like if he's gone, I'm like, oh shit, because I only watched the episode. Did I watch it yesterday? I think I only watched it yesterday, and I had been seeing again not too many people talking about it online. The only people that I saw talking about it online were saying how much of a disappointment the episode was, and I was like, oh shit, okay. So I wasn't really looking forward to watching it. And I didn't see any spoilers or anything. I saw someone put up a picture of Vigilante and was kind of like RIP, and I was like, oh shit, am I after seeing a spoiler? And then I read the rest of the thing. It was like RIP. He's not dead, but it's a shame that they're kind of killing off this character because this show probably isn't going to go anywhere else. Like, and I'm kind of like, fuck. If
Mhm.
they like let him go as a character altogether, it's going to be such a waste because character is fantastic and the actor who plays him is just so funny, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I would love to see more of him, and even bring back his alternate version, like the two of them just like acting up together would be fantastic. And Jesus, like even could you imagine if he got to meet Deadpool or something like that? Like that'd be just absolutely insane. The fourth wall break there would be crazy. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think I think it's all about numbers. It's all about the Nielsen charts and viewer count and all that sort of stuff. Like that's all they really care about. Like whether the show's good or not, like that's fine for some people, but you know Warner Brothers themselves, like they want the big numbers. They want it to be on the streaming charts. They want all the glory. They don't really care if the show's good or not. Like I'd say the big wigs and Warner Brothers don't even fucking watch the show. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's just unfortunate when something like that happens because they did have something good. Well, some people didn't like it, and that's your own opinion. But I think the show was good. I think the acting was great in it. The action was good. The gore was good. The comedy was good. It was good across the board. And I think there's way worse shit on TV than this show, and there's way worse shit that will get renewed than this show. So it's just it's
Exactly.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate. There's so many like cable TV shows that are just absolute ass that just get like renewed every single year and just go on for 13, 14 seasons. Like, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of sad because, as I say, it was ramping up.
I think that they kind of felt that maybe there was too much of, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird that they decided to kind of squash everything for now. Um,
Mm.
I just like, and it's good. It's a good show. It's not like it ended horribly. I think the landing for it was not as good as the first season, which
I
is
I
a
think
little sad.
overall, I think overall it wasn't as good as the first season, in my opinion. I think the first season kind of did everything the same as this season, but better in the first season. You know, a lot of people seem to be as well. I'm seeing like a lot of takes online where like people are thinking that it's bad form that he's doing the Earth X stuff, and with the state of America right now and all this sort of shit. And I'm just like, bro, calm down. Like, it's a fucking TV show. Do you know what I mean? Like, just
Well,
sit back
and
and
it
enjoy it. Like, just forget about what's going on in the real world. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, just sit back and watch some superhero TV. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that deep. But like some people seem to think like, James Gunn for telling this story, and he's not the first one to tell it. Like the CW did this storyline. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Like but some people are fucking butthurt over it. Like and then people are just dogging on Gunn the whole time and saying the DCU shouldn't have hired him, and the DCU is a failure and all this sort of shit. Like, and I'm curious, like,
okay.
now that this show's done, what do you think of the DCU so far? Like, do you think James
um,
Gunn is onto a winner? Do you think it needs work? Like, I don't think it's in a bad place right now. Again, it's only year
no.
one technically, but now I'm curious. What do you
It
think?
it definitely needs some work. It's a lot of fixes that need to be done here and there. It's a lot like it's a lot like the presidency, man. Like they put a lot of things in the first iteration, and now the second iteration is trying to rectify or retcon all of those things to kind of maybe fix the timeline, or essentially create their own sense of like policies or rules for this universe in the sense.
Mm,
And that's why they kind of renamed it from the DCEU to the DCU, so that they can at least state that it's like, oh, it's this is completely separate from what was originally done. We're implementing a new plan. We're trying to get things rolling forward with some new ideas, and we're promising much better results in the sense. So it's very much like a presidency. It's just kind of roll it over. It's like, okay, well, what kind of damage control do we need to do? And I
yeah.
think James Gunn has actually done a pretty good job of giving us stuff that we can actually chew on. Um, it's nothing that seems like overly ridiculous. I think that the retcons that he did in the first episode were funny, to be honest. I think that it was a good ploy as well, because if you don't fix that, you're essentially saying that those characters still exist, and that they're like essentially Jason Momoa or Henry Cavill, and you're not acknowledging that the Justice Gang exists. But and so like it could also have been maybe like a rendition, like something that someone was doing a kind of like a storybook, or like a tall tale kind of like talk about, like maybe it could have been something along the lines of I don't know, it could have been Adrian saying like, oh, this happened, and it's like, no, it fucking didn't. Like it was the Justice League that was there. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was the like it could have been that like silly,
I would have
where
liked
it's
that. Yeah.
like, yeah, I think that would have padded it at least a little bit. Maybe like made things a little bit easier to say like, oh yeah, these characters actually do exist. Um, and then that way, like when you have Peacemaker go for the interview, he actually is talking to the Justice Gang, because Peacemaker was aware he was there when he saw the
Yeah.
Justice Gang. Um, but overall, I think that the way that it ended, it did seem like it was just like an open and shut kind of case. Like they're really shoving it aside. And I thought that was kind of weird. Like Peacemaker, they actually made a banger of a character. He's very likable, and he has a lot of shit to go through. He's pretty much an anti-hero in some cases as well. Like
Oh,
he's
big
been a
time.
villain. Yeah, he's been a villain, he's been a hero. Then we have Adrian. Adrian like just basically was stealing the show every time he was on camera because he just had such a likable character. You know, like he was such a fucking showrunner.
Yeah.
That he was like stepping up in front of the main act, which was so fucking good. Like even during the time like when they were having the conversation with the father, and then he just fucking jumps in and like kills him immediately, and then just starts setting things on fire essentially. Like even his counterpart from that world was still like being a badass. And it was just like, is it because John Cena can't do this kind of work? Do they not have the ability to do a double for this kind of job? Do they much prefer that he just do wrestling moves? You know, because a lot of the times you could tell that like he was able to do wrestling type attacks,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was like really like kind of a nod to like his history. And you know, I think it still all worked. Like I would like to see more Peacemaker, and the fact that they're not really going to move forward with it is just kind of sad. Like
I
I
think
think
he'll
this
appear
is
somewhere. I think he'll appear somewhere in the DCU. Like he'll have a cameo in a movie or something here or there. Maybe a bit more than he had in Superman. Like in Superman 2, he'll have more of a kind of, not to say leading role, but maybe just more of a kind of side character role in it. Like especially if they're not going to do another season of the show, because I think while the show's not a fucking screaming success, the show still has a fan base, and
yeah.
there will be a want for him to show up somewhere else now, whether that is on a TV show or something like that. Maybe Lanterns or something. He shows up somewhere that might make sense or something. I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like you need to give Cena more time because he was fantastic and he deserves it, and he loves the character so much. Like he's walking around in real life in the suit and everything, and I know he's a wrestler and stuff. But if you ever watch him on any of any of the talk shows or anything like that, or like he'll walk the red carpet in full costume, like it's fucking brilliant. So like he's dedicated to the role, and like I think we need more characters like that in this genre, in my opinion.
I,
Do
I
you know what I mean?
mean,
I think it's great.
Cavill was one of them, and he
Uh,
was pushed aside.
let's not talk about Cavill, man. I'll just get upset. I'm sorry. I have to stop you there. I can't do this. I can't do this. Dan brings up a question for anybody who might be listening to us. Would you ever write and direct a show where your wife is kissing someone like John Cena? Me personally, no, I would not. Um, I understand how Hollywood works, and I was only having this conversation the other night, and sometimes me and my missus, when we're sitting down watching stuff, like I'd be like to her, like, oh Jesus, I don't know how people do this. Like, if you watch Deadpool 1 and like he's getting Ryan Reynolds is getting fucked in the ass with a strap on by your one, and I don't know if you've ever seen, there's an interview with Blake Lively where she was on a TV show, or where she was on like one of the talk shows, talking about how when that film first came out, she was on a flight and like nearly every single person on the plane was watching that scene at the same time. And like she's kind of walking through the plane going, oh, that's my husband. Like that's fucked up, like in my opinion. And I understand some people, it's only acting, whatever. They don't really like each other. But there's been plenty of fucking instances where co-stars have had affairs and become couples and all that sort of stuff. So it does happen, And me personally, I'm the type of guy, I'm a very much a one-woman guy. Like I wouldn't even hold another woman's hand, let alone kiss her on screen, even if it was for a job or not. Like that's just me personally. But each to their own, I suppose. I know there's some people in Hollywood like Neil McDermott is an example. I don't know if you know him. He was in the Arrowverse at one point. He was in like Yellowstone and stuff like that. He was an actor who basically was told to kiss a woman in a movie, and he said, "I'm not doing it. Like, the only person in the world that I kiss is my own wife, and that's it." Like, and basically got black booked a little bit for a couple of years in Hollywood because of it. And I've always been on his side of that. I don't think, especially in the world that we live in today, like we're getting fucking extreme and explicit like nudity and sex scenes for nothing other than shock value, in they don't kind of bring any proper like story points or anything like that. Like, I'm all for a bit of nudity, whatever, it is what it is. But it gets to a point, and I'll talk about this in Gen V as well, but like I think the shock value and the nudity in Gen V, I talked about this last week as well. It's gotten to a point where it's not even effective shock value anymore. So I just don't understand the point of it being there. You know what I mean? And I know Henry Cavill said the same thing as well. He's like, he doesn't like doing random sex scenes in movies where it doesn't have any like addition to the storyline. So I'm very much, you know, if there's a reason for it, you know, two people are in love in a storyline and there's a sex scene, whatever, fine, great. Like the two of them have connected and there's this big explosive scene or whatever. That's cool. But just nudity for the sake of it, is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. And you know, I don't know how a director would let his wife, you know, have an intimate scene with a person who's not just the main star of the project, but an actual real life friend of his as well. Like I would never let any of my friends touch my missus. Like, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
I mean, like I think when you're talking about this, especially like for the podcast, like it's a I think so many people look at this the wrong way. And I know that you already mentioned like it's supposed like, you know, you already understand that it's just acting, but like if you really do understand that it's just acting, it's fine. It's real. It's absolutely okay. You're 100% like if he gave the go ahead and he's like, yeah, I'm totally fine with it, then that's on them, man. It's
Oh,
really
100%.
it's really all about consent. Like if you can't consent to this scene, then you shouldn't do it. That's it. They do
Yeah.
the same thing. They do the same thing with porn stars. They do the same thing with like any other kind of acting. It's all based like imagine you're the director and you know your significant other is the actor. Like obviously you're okay with some parts of it, but it's like, you know, so at what point is it, you know, an issue on acting? It's only an issue when not everybody is on board.
Oh
So
yeah.
because James Gunn and John Cena are good friends, like James Gunn trusts John Cena. John Cena doesn't seem like the type that would obviously cause any trouble between the two, and it's all based on acting. So
Mhm.
I like as far as I know, a lot of people are just putting themselves into the mixture and saying, well, I wouldn't do that. It's like, well, no shit, you wouldn't, because you're not an actor. You don't know how to do this stuff. You can't take your emotions out of this, can you? And that's the problem. Like if you can't take your emotions out of the situation, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna start fighting with your significant other. You're gonna have issues trusting each other. That's not the way to go. And if you're really concerned and you're worried about stuff like that, don't be in a relationship, because obviously you can't handle relationships, you know, outside of the workspace if within work you have to do things that are a little uncomfortable. Now, again, consent. Always consent. Always understand that like it's on both ends. You need to both be in agreement. Um, and obviously that was the case. Now, if it were me and I'm in a predicament and my significant other is about to kiss John Cena, it's I mean it's part of the thing. I'll be like, I'm okay with it as long as she's okay with it, as long as we're okay. At the end of the day, she's coming home with me. She's not going with him. Like that's all you have to understand is like you have to be comfortable with the idea that it's just a kiss. Now, sex scenes, that's a little bit heavier, but it's still a consent thing. Like that's all it boils down to. Just have consent, just be okay with it. It's not the end of the world. And if they decide to go off and do something else with someone else, they didn't really care about you in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tall order for sure.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
I don't personally don't like it. Wouldn't be for me now, definitely not. And
yeah, of
like
course
even
not.
on both sides of it, like you know, I'm not just saying like, oh, well, I wouldn't let my wife do that. I wouldn't be comfortable going off doing that with other women either. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
it's not the person who I am.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
fully
I know you're
understand.
not. I know you're not what's the word? I know you're not biased towards like, you know, whichever
Yeah,
side.
I've heard that as well. Like, so it's like, oh well, I wouldn't let her do that, but then they go off and do it themselves. Like that's it's very much both sides of
Yeah,
the argument. Like, you know what I mean? I just wouldn't
absolutely.
feel comfortable doing it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't again, you know, I don't know what to say. You know, it
W-
is what it is. You
w-
know, again, the two of them are actors. You know, or like you know, they work in Hollywood. They know the drill. You know, they've trained for years to do this, and you know, yeah, fair play to them.
And
Fair play to them.
and to be honest, like a lot of the times it's just a publicity stunt, and it's a lot easier when you're not in a relationship, because
I'd say
considering
so.
like it
Oh
just
yeah,
creates that buzz feed and whatnot. And um
must be
this is
hard when let's say you're like, the hot shit A-list actor, and the woman that you're doing the scenes with, or the woman that you're working on a movie with, and that you're meant to have this like hot and heavy relationship with, she's married and she's got a family at home, and she's got a husband, and you're like the Ryan Reynolds of the world, or whatever, whoever you want to use. Like
Yeah.
that'd be kind of like, look, you're only like, and anyone who would have a problem with that, I would just say, yeah, fair enough, man, you're only human, like, you know what I mean. Like if my missus was going off to work to be shooting 8-hour fucking sex scenes with Ryan Reynolds, it'd be tough to swallow, like, for sure.
I mean, I guess in my head, I'm like, God damn, at least you got Ryan Reynolds.
No, bro.
It's like,
tough. That'd be tough.
Like for me, it's like, well,
could be worse.
Could be Danny DeVito. Like, yeah, like if like, oh god, Danny DeVito, I'd be like, really, you couldn't do better. You could, not to say Danny DeVito is horrible. It's just like, come on, like
he's the Penguin.
Oh, and he's a penguin. Oh my god.
Have you seen those memes where it's like him doing the thing, and it's like when you see like young girls that are hanging out on yachts, and it's him doing the ride.
The fucking ride.
Yeah. That's so fucking funny. Yo, Stizzy, what's up? How are you? James Gunn says James Gunn confirms. James Gunn confirms.
Confirm James Gunn.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll agree. Like, it is what he's directing the show, and I think he directed the finale as well. So, when they were shooting those scenes where they were doing that kiss, I think I saw an interview with Jennifer Holland, who plays Harcourt. She was saying that it took them a while to do it because the cameras that they were using, there was like a slow-mo fade in, fade out, and all that sort of stuff, and it wasn't one take either. They were doing it for a while, so James is standing behind the camera, just watching his wife make it out with his friends.
Kiss her. Yeah. Fucking do it.
Kiss her harder, motherfucker. Yeah, it's strange, bro. Like, but Hollywood is strange.
Have you seen that clip from Darkman with Liam Neeson? They're at the carnival, and like he's trying to get a pink elephant for his girlfriend and whatnot.
I think so.
And so he manages to get the pink elephant, but the pink elephant's like full of like stained with like blood or something, and he's like, he hands it to the girl. He's like, take it. Take the fucking elephant. Kiss her. Fucking kiss her now. Like,
that's hilarious, dude.
36 takes. Do it.
Talk to me about Gen V. Was there an episode today? Was there a new one today?
Yeah, I didn't catch up on the previous episode. I didn't have time.
I'm one behind as well, so maybe we won't talk about Gen V for long, but I'll tell you that since we last spoke, I've watched 2 more episodes, so I'm caught up now to where you are, but we haven't seen today's episode. So I actually kind of really enjoyed it. There were 2 good episodes. I watched them back to back as well. I really think watching like 2 at a time or 3 at a time really helps with the viewing experience, rather than like 40 minutes a week where it's just feels a bit too short. But yeah, like I thought it was really cool. Obviously them getting caught and going back into the prison, and Kate kind of learning to use her powers a little bit again. And I saw somebody fan casted her as Harley Quinn. And I was like, that would kind of work. She'd be kind of a cool Harley Quinn. Like, if they were going to reboot in the DCU. There was an interview with her, and she had like pink hair and stuff, and I was like, she is giving off Hardy vibes here. This is really good. My missus had a good theory about Cypher. She thinks that the burned old dude that's in the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember when Marie had said that Cypher wasn't actually a soup? She's like, I can't sense any V in his system. He's not a soup. And then, it turns out that he's like a telepath or something. She was saying that she thinks that the dude who's in the case, I can't remember his name.
Like Cypher's dad?
The old burnt out dude. Yeah. He's actually controlling Cypher, and Cypher actually is human.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because then it would be right what Marie, because Marie obviously like scanned his blood or whatever and realized, he doesn't have any V in his system. So she was technically right, but it's not him using the powers. He's actually being controlled by the dude in the tank, who looks like Deadpool. But I think I was like, that's a pretty good theory, and I think she might be right. Yeah, Dan says correct. So yeah, I think she's right.
Well, yeah,
And
because I mean that definitely makes sense considering that Cypher is trying to preserve him and trying to keep him alive and is taking care of him and whatnot, and you know it seems like such an ordeal for a guy that seems like he doesn't have any sort of emotion towards anything whatsoever.
yeah, and like the goal is to get her to obviously, because we find out I think in the last episode that she has the power obviously to revive. So her sister dies in the prison. She ends up fixing her, or however she describes it, but she brings her sister back to life. So I presume that he wants to then use that power on himself to like repair his own body. So
Which would
he's
be
using
really cool.
so he's using Cypher to train her up to then say, "Hey, repair this guy's body," and then it's actually him, and then Cypher will be freed, and he actually is human at the end. Yeah,
That'd be sick.
yeah. I don't know if Dan actually knows this for a fact, but yeah, I think she's onto on the money with that one. Yeah, I like it. I like the show. It's good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and I think we've got the last season of The Boys after, and then I think they're doing the what's it called? The Rising show, which is like the prequel show with Jensen Ackles as what's his name again? Oh my god, Soldier Boy, and it's like them in the 40s or whatever. So it's going to be the start of the V stuff, which I think will link in with this because we're seeing obviously the flashbacks to like the creation of V, right? And that lab that lab explosion, which probably gave him his powers to begin with, but he was severely damaged because of it. Yeah, it's cool, man. I'm liking the kind of world build that we're seeing even in this show. Like usually shows like this, like these spin-off shows are usually a lot weaker and they kind of feel like homework. They're not really kind of main storyline stuff, but it really feels like they do integrate this well into the main show. And like obviously we found out as well that Vought has the new CEO. It's the I can't think of her name, the really smart soup.
Oh, Nadia?
Who's having sex with Cypher as well. We found out that
yeah.
she's the new CEO of Vought. And then obviously Edgar comes back as well. I thought that was really cool in the last episode. Giancarlo Esposito returning and trying to basically, train up a bit of a team to try and take Vought back as well. Like, which again, this is all going to feed right into the last season of The Boys, I'm sure. So it's cool, man. Like it's essential viewing, which is good because the last thing you want is for the show to feel like you're just kind of going through the motions to get to the end, to hope to see a little tiny appearance of Homelander in the last episode or something like that, and that be all that it's all about. Like, I think it's cool that they are actually still world building in this show, which is sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes there are in a season. I think we must be close to the end, are we? Like today's 8. I think it's 10 in total, is it maybe?
I swear it was 8. I think 8's kind of the new magic number.
Yeah, check it there. If it's 8, then it's over. We haven't seen the finale. We're talking about it. The finale's we haven't even seen it.
Yeah, it's 8 episodes. I don't. Are you sure that the last episode is today? I think it's next week.
Well, I haven't. Should have been an episode.
Yeah, it's
right.
Yeah, this week is episode 7. Episode 8 is next week.
Oh shit! I thought last week's episode was 7. Sorry, I'm getting confused with the numbers. Cool. Okay, well, one more then after this week's one, which is great. So two left for us to talk about, I suppose. So
essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So next week we can be a focused episode on Gen V because obviously Peacemaker's gone now. Cool. Oh my god, what the fuck? Dan, you ever wipe someone else's asses and smile at the same time? It's him in the tank. It's not his dad. Ooh, yeah, I think so. That was such as well. Oh man, I had just sat down with some food and I started to eat, and then that scene came up, and I was like, for fuck's sake! Again, another prime example of just gore for no reason. I don't need to see that. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a reality you don't tend to see that often, but it's something
I see it every day. I have a 2-year-old. I still change her diapers. I have to do this shit in the real world. I don't want to see it in my entertainment, man. I don't want to see an old man shit all over his ass. I don't want to see his
not
fucking
the same. That's
awful burnt dick and balls. You know what I mean? Fuck this, dude, man. I'm sick of it.
Dude, that's your offspring. You should be comfortable
I have no
cleaning your
problem.
offspring. You should-
I have no problem changing hers. I don't want to see it anywhere else, especially when I sit down to escape this world into the world of entertainment. I don't want to see the real world coming right back at me. That's,
that,
that's not why
well,
we, that's not why we sit down to watch this shit.
but that's the thing. That's why I think Gen V is so good. Gen V and the boys is because it's kind of rooted, here and there in reality.
Mhm.
People get it. People explode into fucking thing. If there's soups all over the place, people are gonna explode. People are gonna have their limbs cut off. People are gonna have their head cut off. All kinds of shit can happen, and it's obviously like hard to take in because then it's like, holy shit, that's what my insides look like.
I don't mind that sort of gore. I'm just kind of sick of all of the dicks and asses and like literal assholes and balls on in my face, like for these show. Like it's just,
How
and it
how
seems to be a lot of
else
yeah. Go
how
on, sorry.
how else are the producers, the writers, how else are they gonna get their fetishes out, man?
This is all like Seth Rogen just getting stoned and laughing and just going, "Oh, how could we get more balls on the screen?" Like this is how they do it. Literally, that's all it is, man. Like it's just, I don't know. I think that the point has been made. Well done, guys. You're able to show dick and balls on TV now. It's like we don't need to see it every fucking 60 minutes. Like, it's because then it defeats the purpose of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like in the 80s and 70s, like when slasher movies came out and you saw a pair of tits, you'd go crazy. It would be the best thing ever. Holy shit, there's a pair of tits in Friday the 13th, number 3, in the cabin, like, or whatever. Like, and you'd tell your friends about it and everything. It was a thing when you were young. And that quickly became old. And now it's like, you don't even blink twice when you see a pair of tits now and something. Like, I don't even think about it. It's just another body part. It's completely desensitized. And now, then they're like, okay, so how do we get the new shock value out of people? Okay, we're going to show dicks on screen. And now it's like, okay, now we've got dicks and balls and, you know, assholes and the whole shebang. Like this show like goes over the top with it. Like, I really do think so. Um, Again, I'm not going to stop watching it because of it, but it's just ridiculous. Like, I shake my head when I see it. I'm just like, oh, it's just too. It's pointless, man. The shock value's not there. If they did it maybe once a season, you'd kind of laugh. And like, I remember the first episode of the show where what's her name, Termite or whatever, the little like Emma, the little girl that can shrink. But she
Oh,
was like
Little Cricket?
Cricket. Yeah, I don't know why I keep thinking Termite. I don't know why I keep thinking that name. Little Cricket. Like when she was like climbing up the dick, man, I was breaking my heart laughing. I thought it was brilliant. It was funny. It was shocking. That's it done right. But I just think they go over the top with it. Like, we didn't need to see the burnt out dude's dick and balls and shit all over him. We didn't need to see Cypher. And again, we saw it twice because it showed it again in a recap. We didn't need to see him sitting backwards down on the toilet and seeing his actual, like seeing into his soul up through his asshole and like his fucking balls and everything. I it just didn't need, we didn't need to, didn't need to see it. Like, and I didn't need to see it again the next week. You know what I mean? It's just
Like,
too much, man.
like I
Dan
said, man,
says,
I think
whoa,
it's
whoa, I still go crazy. Yeah, boobs are great. Boobs are great.
well, I mean, I'm on the side of like a lot of the times when they do casting, a lot of the women tend to be like on the smaller cup side. I'm a big cup size kind of person, so when I see
Mhm.
him big on the big screen, I'm like, nice.
Nice.
We don't use that. That's a rarity, man. Like a lot of the times they do athletic built
Yeah.
women.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Each to their own. Like, some people like small tits, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with
Oh,
that. But,
I just have a preference. It's not
yeah,
like it's not
you're
like
most
I won't do it.
most people
Yeah,
do, and
yeah.
that's fine. But, I don't think we need to be seeing dick and balls everywhere. And, there's this bit again. I wanted to talk about the House of Guinness later on in the show, but I'll bring it up now because we're talking about dicks on screen. But there was a in episode 3 of the House of Guinness, there's a scene where like one of the main characters gets out of the bath and he's got a massive dick, and there was this whole thing about it online, and everyone was like, it has to be a prosthetic, and on the actor came out, no, it's actually my dick, and everyone's going crazy over this guy's dick, like, and you know apparently it wasn't even meant to be in the show, and the actor himself said, I want to stand up and be naked because I think it'll fit the story. And it's like, all right, bro, you've got a big dick, cool for you. Like, I'm just like, do we need to see it? Like, you know I just think, again, where we are right now, it's just, it's all for shock value, and it's just, it's wearing thin quickly. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I just don't think it has the same effect that people think it does. Do you know what I mean? And like it's funny because when Kate was getting brought into the prison in episode 6 or 7 or whatever it was, and they're stripping her down and everything like that, I kind of turned to my missus at the time and said, if this was a dude in this scene, we'd be actually seeing the prison guard going up his asshole to check like what's up there, and we'd actually see the camera probably go up his ass. And I'm less like now because it's a girl again, it's like we don't see anything like so. It's like where we've gone from one extreme with like women getting their tits out all the time to now it just being men that get naked on screen. Now there's no like tits or anything. It's kind of like, they've switched it. It's like, oh, well, you had like 30 years of women getting their tits out for the guys. Now it's the girls' turn or something. I don't really know what it is, but it's so much. I think it's just so much more extreme. Like,
Gotcha.
like I don't want my kids watching like dick and balls all over the place.
Then don't show them.
Oh, no, I won't be showing them. But my parents didn't show me this shit when I was a kid either. Like, you find it. You know what I mean? We're kids. We're, they will find it, whether we show it to them or not. Like, that's just the way of the world.
So then, like, I don't know, teach them. Like, if they come across it, obviously you need to teach them. Don't be afraid not to teach them.
Oh, bro, I was 10 years old when I first saw like The Exorcist, and when I started watching slasher movies and all that sort of stuff. My parents hadn't a clue. They didn't know what we were doing. I mean,
yeah, like if you don't know, then
it's not their fault.
Yeah, you gotta toss up your hands. Like, I didn't fucking know he was looking for that shit.
Yeah, of course. But again, I'm a realist. I understand that like kids and teenagers, especially, like they're gonna see it in school. They're gonna have a friend in school who saw this movie. He's gonna tell them to watch it, or now it's all they're gonna be sitting on phones in classrooms and all this sort of shit. Like, there's no escaping it now. It used to be a thing when I was a kid that like you had to wait. We had a friend whose both his parents used to work during the day. So like after school, there was like a small window where he'd have a free house and we'd go there and we'd watch movies and stuff like that. And his dad had a cool like horror collection and stuff. So we'd like whip out like Friday the 13th and all that sort of shit and watch The Exorcist. And I remember being like 10 years old watching The Exorcist going, I'm too young for this shit. Like I knew it myself. Like I was like, I should not be watching this film right now. And like proper scared the shit out of me, like, and yeah, like it's part of growing up as well. You know what I mean? Like while I wouldn't want my kids having those experiences, I think it's important to have those experiences as well. So, it's tough.
Yeah, it just depends on like how early it was. If it's too early, then it can cause some trouble in the later times.
Yeah,
they have intimacy issues or whatnot. Like it's a big psychological thing.
Big time. And I think like looking at, I don't want to go into too real subjects here or anything, but like looking at like the impact that like pornography is having on people these days and stuff, and how it's like ruining the new generation with relationships and all that sort of thing. Like this is heavily studied, and you can go and find that information if you want. Like, but it's not good. Like, and I don't think TV's helping. Like again, this show Gen V has like a rated M stamp on it, an 18 stamp on it. Doesn't mean that every single person watching the show is going to be 18 or over. Like I can guarantee you there's hundreds of thousands of people, kids, teenagers, boys and girls that are under the age of 18 watching the show. And, they're seeing dicks and fucking gruesome shit all over the place. Like they're not fully developed yet. Like that's gotta be messing with the psyche a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, but like it's just like, again, like if it's something that you can control, if it's something that you gave them, then that's obviously your fault. But if it's something that they just come across because their friends knew about it, it's just general influence. It's hard to take in. Like it's really hard for that to be limited, to be honest, considering that most adults nowadays will just hand a tablet over to their child and then be like, go ahead, go nuts. Don't do anything. Like they do nothing in terms of parental controls. That's why a lot of different companies, Disney, Netflix and whatnot, they put those parental controls in, because if they don't, then the parents have something to bitch about. Well, you guys didn't have anything to lock away all this stuff. I didn't know that these were going to be readily available for the kids. I just gave them their own profile. And it's like, dude, like you should have bitched about this beforehand if there was nothing,
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of people as well who will like, have the parent profile, but there isn't even a password on it. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Create the kid's profile all you want, but all they have to do is change profile and then they have access to everything, So yeah, like look, I feel sorry for my kids in a way, because both me and my missus are both IT heads, so there will be some actual parental controls in place, both on the internet and on their devices. Like even on my phone now, I have all of my apps that like anything that's social media related or anything like that. I have it all locked down to like my Face IDs needed to open them, because I sometimes when we're out and about, I'll hand my daughter my phone with YouTube Kids, and she can by accident slip back to the main menu, and I don't want her clicking on Instagram and or whatever, or Twitter, and seeing something she shouldn't like, or like, that's the way you got to be on the internet. So yeah, I think there's definitely, like, Disney, of course, they're going to cover their own asses and put up like a mature tick this profile to have kids only and strip out all of the adult content. But most parents don't know what they're doing, you know. And if they think,
No.
if you think you're locking a device down, the kids are smart now as well. They're a lot smarter than we were at that age. So I'm sure they're going to find out simple ways to move around stuff. 100%. Like
It,
I was only having this conversation with my missus. Like, we don't want to give the kids smartphones until they're maybe 16 or something. I'm thinking like my son's 11 now. When he goes into secondary school, maybe buy him like a burner phone, like to where we'll only have like calls and texts and stuff like that, and not have internet on it. Something like that,
Mhm.
maybe, if we can. And like same with my daughter. Like, I wouldn't even dream of giving her social media or anything like that until she's well older. Do you know what I mean? Like, just Jesus, no, not a chance. Um,
Yeah,
so I feel
but
bad for them that way, because we're very clued into the kind of the dangers of the internet. So they're going to get away with a lot less than maybe some of their friends. So
it also has to do with like how you engage in that situation when it's like oh shit, they kind of found something that we didn't want them to find for like
yeah,
maybe a few more years in. um then it's about the damage control. It's about how you engage with your child. I don't have a kid, but I know for a fact that if I did and they looked up shit and they were like at an age that like was not appropriate, I'd still have to sit down with them and talk to them and be like, hey, so just so you know, this stuff isn't like, this isn't the reality of the world. It's just things that people desire, and stuff like that. It's just you gotta bring them down to earth before they kind of float into the air too high and think that this fantasy is reality.
yeah.
Um,
And that's
because
unfortunate,
it's
because there's a lot of kids out there that aren't getting that conversation. They don't know.
no,
And
yeah, and then
it's tough.
it's it's really tough because when they're adults and they become dissociated with their partners. They
Yep.
don't know how to freely, like, how to connect at a much deeper level, because all they think about is like, oh my god, I just got to get in their pants immediately. And it's like, it's so sad, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree. And like, I only watched a video there the other day, like, I think, what was it called? Something to do with like, the millennials being like the last kind of generation who were kids before technology. We watched technology kind of come into play and adapted to it, and we're the first kind of generation that adapted to it successfully, but still remember life without it. And it's kind of like there's that, I can't remember what they call it. There's like a gaping hole, that because we remember life before it. You know what I mean? Like, we remember during the summers, like staying out in the streets playing at night until the streetlights came on, and when you went in, or if you wanted to contact your friend, you had to physically knock on their door and see if they were there, all that sort of stuff. Like, we remember that life, but then are obviously adapted and know the new world. But like, kids today, like my daughter, like, for example, like she probably won't know anything about like just being out in the streets running around with her friends. Like, I think like the world is just a way more kind of scary place now. Like, we do see young kids like floating around our estate, or like, no parents around at all. And like, I think it's kind of scary. Like, like, there's kids that are probably too young to be playing on the streets, whereas when we were younger, it was just the norm. And yeah, I don't know. I think the world's a darker place now, both, online and in the real world. And I think, I don't know, it's just the innocence is gone. It's kind of been shattered a little bit. And a lot of it's to do with technology. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's just like, there's that gaping hole of like what the old world used to be like. And I feel sorry for how simple the world used to be. And we can't like, the future can't experience it, because it's just not the same world anymore.
Right, I get what you're saying, but I think at least knowing that this is a thing is also a positive, because then we can learn how to mitigate over time. And that's
Mhm.
that's the thing that most people don't understand. It's just because we have this technology that exposes all of this, craziness that we've never seen before, doesn't mean that stuff didn't exist at the time. It's just now we are aware of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot like in the medical field. Like, a lot of people didn't know what kind of diseases and viruses and ailments that people went through like throughout their entire life. Dude, when I was growing up, like I was diagnosed with ADHD or ADD, and my mother passed it off as like, oh, he's just bored. Like he's not easily challenged. He's like bored. He doesn't feel like he's challenged and whatnot. And maybe she was right. But now I'm actually going to like I went to a therapy session with a psychologist,
Hmm.
and they like I went through one session. They wanted to know who I was and how I felt and why I wanted to get checked for this. And I told them why. Like it's I was diagnosed back then. My mother denied it. I feel like maybe it's kind of popping up and it's become a thing. And so like, can you imagine like back then when I was young, like not having the ability, like, not having the ability to do that kind of stuff? Like I wish I could have had a choice in
Because
the matter.
there was a big stigma around it back then as well. Like, it's a much
Yeah.
different world that we're living in now. Like I'm a parent to an autistic child. Like, and back when I was a kid, like I had never met anyone with autism before, or maybe I had, but I didn't know because it wasn't really diagnosed or it was suppressed, and you were just kind of like, oh, that kid's just a bit weird, or that kid's just
He's just
um,
angry all the time.
he's a troublemaker. Like
Yeah.
now that I know and I think back on it, like there's a few people that I went to school with, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe they weren't just like a troublemaker, and they got expelled when they were 14 and never went back to school again, sort of thing. And you think, I wonder, was that kid just autistic and needed a bit of extra assistance, and just the infrastructure wasn't there for him, and
Yeah.
that's just a complete failing of the system. But that poor kid just got lost through the cracks, sort of thing. Like that
Yeah.
definitely, it happened a lot. And it's sad. It's sad. And yeah, like I know people in real life. I obviously won't mention names, but I know people that I can clearly tell that their child is autistic, and they won't get an assessment done because they don't want to put the label on the child. Like, and it's a kind of thing of shame, or it's a thing of like, oh, I don't want my kid to have a more difficult life, but they're not realizing that by getting them the help that they need, they'll get services which will help them, and it'll actually make life easier for the kid.
Like probably
It's
100 times easier. Like they'll
like it's night and day, bro. Like they get help in school, they get help with everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, like there's some autistic children who just, they can't stand in a line for a long time. So, if you have that knowledge, you have you can get a card like that helps them go through airports and stuff like that quicker and all. Even little tiny things like that just make a day where you're traveling like so much easier. I
yeah,
speak I speak
exactly.
of experience through this, by the way. I know exactly what this is like. So, it's stuff like that is essential. And for someone to not want to do that sort of thing because they just don't want that label on their child, because maybe they feel a bit ashamed and they think it's my fault that my kid's autistic or something. It's it's a ridiculous mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like you would think that you would want to do everything in your power to make sure that your child is well taken care of. And I think that there's not enough information given to like younger parents to help them identify like how important it is to have these remedies for these kids. You don't have to pump them full of meds. Sometimes you just need to like find out why they're acting this way.
Yeah.
You just like if you have that knowledge, that makes it so much easier. A lot of the time, like you know, once I get my diagnosis done, because I have a second appointment with the psychologist, like they're gonna let me know, like, do I actually have ADHD? Do I have like a low grade of it? Am I there were even sections of it that like I checked in the results that like I might even be like little to no depression, and I'm like, what? I'm I'm usually a happy person. Like, does that like it's kind of interesting to kind of go through. It's like, well, we can like if you felt these kinds of things, maybe you're going through something that you're just not aware of, and it's like, holy shit! Like the realization comes in, and then now I'm like, okay, well now I understand myself better, because a lot of the times people think that just because they live with themselves, they know everything about themselves, but
100%.
you don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know,
I
because like you could talk to a mirror, but it's not going to talk back to you unless you're
I know
crazy.
I know a guy who went through his whole school life thinking that he was stupid because he like couldn't read properly and stuff like that. Just turned out that he was dyslexic and didn't know. And then
Yeah.
found out like last couple of years of his college life, and then everything just became so much easier. And he was like he literally said, "Oh my god, I'm actually not stupid." Like he thought he was
Yeah,
stupid.
cuz Because then now he's aware, and now he can get things that have like dyslexic fonts,
Hmm.
so that it's like spaced out the letters more. Because I've seen like how they have font sizes for dyslexia. I think they
Hmm.
make the letters larger. They kind of change the angle of it so that it's not like all in one spot, and then they have it separated so it's like easier to read. And
Yeah.
so like it takes you a little bit longer to kind of go through each letter, but at the same time, you're able to read what the word actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was getting like more time allowances during examinations and stuff like that. Whereas he wouldn't get that before, and he'd be kind of freaking out because he's like, "Oh, I can't read fast enough," or whatever. He's mixing stuff up and numbers and shit like that, and never realized that he was dyslexic. And it's kind of funny. And like my missus says to like she thinks that I might be slightly dyslexic in a way because sometimes when I'm reading out loud, I can't read fast, but in my own head I can read perfectly fine. But sometimes when I read out loud, it takes me a bit longer to say the words because I'm like reading ahead or something. I don't know. I just, maybe I am. I don't know either. But again, it's I'm just kind of I live with it like sort of thing. Like, but I remember like being in school like when I was younger. Like they'd always ask you to stand up and read out in front of the class, and I used to be very nervous to do that. I didn't like doing it, and then they thought that I was stupid at a point in school because I was just nervous reading in front of the class. Whereas there was nothing wrong with me. I can read perfectly fine in my head. Like, so if I'm reading something like a book or if I'm reading text or reading a chat or something, I'm fine. But sometimes, like when I was reading it back, I'd be reading it a bit slower and they thought that I was like a slow reader. But it just turned out it was just a public speaking thing or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I remember going up to speak. Like I'm mute. Like I am definitely a nervous speaker, but
Yeah.
it's more along the lines of um not like you can kind of see some trembling,
Mm,
but I will speak much faster. I'm like, get it
yeah.
done, get it over with, get it
Yeah.
out
Speed read. I
here.
think doing stuff like this is kind of funny. Like, I've definitely noticed that like streaming and doing a podcast and stuff like that definitely helps with public speaking and stuff. I know it's not the same. If there's like 10 people watching this right now, if these 10 people were sitting right beside me, it might be a bit different than talking just to me and you. But
Yeah.
it definitely does help. Like I've definitely noticed like doing presentations in work and stuff like that. And like if I'm kind of leading phone calls like with meetings with clients and stuff like that, I'm able to kind of talk like this and get straight to the point and sound professional and stuff like that. Like and even to the point where like like my manager's like, man, like you're great with dealing with customers and all that sort of thing. And I'm just like, man, I just do this now. Like this is just norm for me.
It's just normal.
Yeah, it is. Like, I like, and some people will, be talking to a client and they might get a bit nervous or get a bit shaky or, start stuttering a bit like that. Like, I'm just kind of like, let's just fucking do this, like just go for it. And I think like
The,
Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that has really helped me out, you know?
the only thing that I have a problem with currently is I don't like to bug developers.
Yeah.
I don't like to bug them because because that's what's kind of told in the workspace. It's like we want the developers to do their own thing, which is developing. We don't want them dealing with any of the alerts or alarms or anything that's going on. Any of the stuff that operations can handle, that's why it's DevOps, because your operations, you're handling all the standard stuff because the developers had already created what was necessary for it to be monitored. And it's like, well, I don't understand everything. I need to get more nitty-gritty details, and I've checked all their documentation. I still have questions. And
Mhm.
so I'll ping in Slack or something, and it's like no response. And I'm like, can I ping them
Ping
on the
again.
side and try to, yeah, do I schedule a meeting? Do I just, and eventually I was like, I got kind of over it, and I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna tell them in Slack, like, hey, I'm scheduling a meeting at 1. And then immediately after they're like, oh, actually there's this information. It's like, yeah, I knew you were standing there like not wanting to respond to me as well.
Yeah. I suppose it's kind of, isn't it a thing like in like when the devs are done and it gets handed over to support, like they're out, they're finished, they're on to the next thing. So it's kind of like,
It's
leave me
true.
alone, bro. I gotta go. You gotta like, it's like sending the baby off to college, or whatever. I'm done. Off you go. Like this is your problem now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a good team will make good documentation, and
Oh
it'll
yeah.
make it readable, and then
Yeah.
operations will be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I just want to try and rope back into some topics here because we've gone way off.
Yeah, we
It's,
did.
and like I don't mind. I could sit here and talk to you all night, but let's try and like kind of keep it nerdy in topics if we can. Um, did you see I think I spoke about this slightly at the start of the podcast, but uh, your one who plays Jessica Jones ended up leaking. She was at like New York Comic Con and they showed the trailer for Daredevil season 2. And did you see what she did? Like she actually recorded it on her phone and she put it on her Instagram story. So she's like sitting in like the front row, like, and she's just like this looking up, and she recorded the whole trailer, and it literally shows Jessica Jones in Daredevil season 2. So she leaked herself in season 2.
What a fucking Chad move.
Hilarious, bro. Like in this world, like again, we know, like, and we're just on the outside, we're not involved at all. We know, like, you don't go and spoil this stuff. You don't like put up secrets or talk about spoilers. And there's the whole like Tom Holland ruining everything, and like it's a meme nearly at this stage. Like, you don't do this sort of stuff on social media. And like I'm sure she got it telling off by like Kevin Feige and Marvel and all this sort of stuff. Like, but yeah, she put up like a full blown clip, like 45-second long trailer on her Instagram story. It is hilarious. Do you think Disney did it on purpose? So yeah, I suppose that's one way to look at it. Maybe they did. Maybe it was a publicity thing. That's, I suppose with the world we live in today, I'm always skeptical of everything, I suppose. So Dan, you're 100% right to ask that question. I think in today's world, everything that I see, I always think of it with both sides of the coin. Like, like there's ulterior motives to everything. So yes, this could be a publicity stunt. Maybe she knew exactly what she was doing. Maybe she doesn't even have control of that Instagram channel, and someone else was just there and they did it and put it up and posted it as her. That is very much a possibility as well. And if that is the case, it worked, because here we are talking about it. The world is talking about it. Everyone shared that trailer on. It was all over Twitter the other day, and I've seen it on TikTok all over the place and everything as well. Everyone's kind of like, "Holy shit, season 2 is going to be great! Look, Jessica Jones is in it. Here's Kingpin's back," and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, it works. It works, man. It's great publicity.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it is. Now I don't know. Like when I first kind of saw it, I thought to myself, the balls on this bitch. I was like, fair play to you. You're just sitting there, and she hasn't really done anything for the MCU yet. And the first thing that she's in the MCU, she just leaks it all over the internet. I was like, that is pretty fucking baller. But yeah, you could be right. You could be right. It could be a whole like just ploy. Dan thinks they did. I think they did. He says, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them 100%, because the MCU is not doing too great now, numbers wise. Demon Slayer did better than all comic book movies this year in the box office. Little 30 million animated movie from Japan destroyed everything in Hollywood this year. Like they've got to be shaking in their boots, I'd say, at this stage. Like that. I think didn't that Chainsaw Man movie come out, and it's like doing numbers as well now. Like it's I don't exactly know what the numbers are, but I've heard it's performing quite well. It's like
maybe in Japan. I think it still hasn't been released in the US yet.
Okay, well there's a lot of hype around it already. I've been seeing, and that's again red flags for for poor Hollywood, because it seems like the anime train's really taking off here now on the big screen, and they got to do some stuff to maybe keep up, and this could be one of them. Like let's try and get people hyped. Let's leak some stuff, see what happens.
And like story, like animation, anime, like mangas, stuff like that. The stories that they tell in those things are just so good, man. And because
it's a very dangerous thing to unleash into the Western world when Hollywood is so shaky, where it's like, hang on a second, these like animated movies are bringing out like they're slapping with some fucking hardcore storylines and stuff. And like, when we're seeing She-Hulk fucking twerking on screen and this stupid shit happening in the MCU and everything, it's like, hang on a second, I can go and watch this stuff and see epic storylines. Like, maybe I'll watch this instead.
Yeah.
It's not a time. It's not a time for this to be happening. I'm sure they're shaking, man. I'm sure they're shaking.
Yeah, but I mean, they need to be shook, because like we need some stuff. We need stuff. We need
competition. Competition is the best thing in the world, man. Because as they say, what's the saying? Like raising waters, or like growing tides raise all boats, or whatever the saying is. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, bring up the quality. Like, get some fucking real writers back in the writers' room in Marvel and DC and everything like that. 100%. Like I like the MCU. I think the worst thing that happened to the MCU was the absolute peak of success that they had, because they got cocky and they thought we can just do anything now. And I think, you
Yeah.
know, I've heard, I was listening to Den of Nerds talking earlier, and he was talking about how maybe he was kind of shitting on James Gunn a bit, but he was kind of saying that maybe Guardians of the Galaxy was a bit of a false flag for the comic book genre. You know, it was a massive success. It was a widely unknown group of people and characters, and it just became this really big success. And while yes, the movie's good, I think it's James Gunn's best movie in my opinion, but I think it created a false sense of security for these companies to where they were like, Jesus, man, we can get fucking C-level characters here and we can just pump out $1 billion, you know? And I think they thought like, oh, let's just, and because if you think about it, that was like 2014, right? So after that, they started really getting like, you know, Suicide Squad, start doing all this like weird stuff. And now like you've got like shit like Clayface coming out and all this shit. Like people don't even know who these people are. Like, you gotta be very clued into to be invested in characters like Clayface, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I think like they got too comfortable, and then, you know, obviously the success of the Avengers movies and everything like that, they just think like, yeah, let's just phase, like, you know, phase 4 and phase 5 happened. I don't even need to talk about it. We know exactly what happened, you know? And I think that they need to kind of maybe a reset. I think it's the perfect time for a reboot, to be honest. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if DC did get sold and did a reboot as well. Like, it's like, let's just fucking start from scratch here, because we need some fresh blood, both actors, writing, the whole shebang. Like, let's just fucking start again. Because yeah, I don't know. It's I think they've gone a bit too far, especially with the MCU. You know,
Yeah.
when we're getting stuff like Ironheart and Miss Marvel, while, you know, I like the actress, I like the character, but I don't think it warrants her getting her own show and her becoming like, you know, one of the main three in the Marvels and stuff like that. I don't think the character is that strong to be you know, taking up that much screen time. I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, because they didn't really give these characters enough to work with. It's, you know, a lot of the stuff that they did up until Avengers was like one-offs. You
Mhm.
know, they bring them in, they give them their own movie, and then they put them together, you know, via the like after
Infinity War or
credits.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Well, like
Sorry, I know what you mean.
before Infinity War, like, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
they
tying
they
it
s-
together and making the
and
big fucking world.
right. And then, but even then, like, I think were there any second part movies before the Avengers, or was it all like first parters?
Avengers 1,
Yeah.
Iron Man had 2 movies, but I think that was the only one. And Iron Man, I think it made like, so if you think about it,
Right.
it was kind of Nick Fury and Iron Man were the 2 guys who were forming the Avengers, so it kind of made sense that they had more screen time than the rest.
Right.
But yeah, for the rest of them, like Thor, Cap, and all that sort of thing, it was all one movie, and then bang, they met in the middle.
Right. So then when they were trying to do the Marvels, I think that Monica Rambeau didn't really have anything to stand on, because her character was kind of based upon the ending of WandaVision, which wasn't really a strong suit for her to even begin her origin story. Like, I
Mhm.
get that you know, they were creating an origin story for her, but the show is called WandaVision. Nobody's going to give a shit about Monica Rambeau. Like,
No.
it's going to be very much like in the dark for a while. So then, you know, we have Captain Marvel, you know, the first iteration of Captain Marvel, and I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't the best, but it was decent. It wasn't like, oh my god, but it was still good enough for me to like, okay, so at least we've established this character. We, you know, we understand them a bit. And then we have Miss Marvel, and it's a TV show. And it's like, no, I think that you guys should have put her on the big screen, gave her a bit more time, and actually done the like the effects of her abilities normally as who she is,
Mhm.
not this new rendition that's like, oh, all of my powers come from a bracelet, which to me is like such a punch in the nuts, because that character was so beloved by, like, you know, like multicultural people.
Yeah.
And it just blew my fucking mind that they didn't think to just try to do things by the book, and just, you know, even if it was a show, like if they had done that, at least we would have been like, okay, maybe she could be big enough to be on the big screen, you know, and then maybe give her a movie right before you do the Marvels or something, because like like with enough screen time, we'll enjoy the characters, because I think at the very least, Captain Marvel was still kind of a likable character here and there. But like we don't know these other two characters that well. Like we only saw them in portions here and there. And yes, Miss Marvel got like a full show,
but
but like
no one cared about it. And it was at a
no,
stage as well where the Disney Plus model had kind of already failed at that point. And then
yeah,
we get that show, and the show wasn't good. The first episode was cool. I enjoyed the first episode of the show. I liked the vibe of it. I liked how she was like kind of daydreaming in school, and her daydreams were like comic strips and stuff. I was like, this is fucking cool. And I know the actress is a sweaty nerd in real life. So I'm like, this is cool. She deserves to be a superhero. This is great. She is Miss Marvel, you know? Like, did you ever play the Avengers game that came out a couple of years ago?
yeah, oh yeah,
Storyline for that game, like
phenomenal.
I loved how they introduced her Kamala into that story. Like that's the way they probably should have done it. Like put her somewhere into like Infinity War in a very small capacity. Like, you know, she's just a little fangirl of the Avengers. She ends up meeting them somehow, and then like we get to see a little 2 minute scene of her developing her powers, and then it's like we'll come back to that later, guys. Put a pin in that. We'll be back. You know, and then you develop her more off. You know, if you want to do it on TV, then maybe do something like that. But I don't know. I think they were relying on everybody watching that show as if it was an MCU movie, and
Mhm.
you know, like the I think, you know, there's probably quotes of like Bob Iger, the Disney head, like outright saying like, you know, we've got to jump on the streaming train, and you know, we got to get like a new show out. Like they wanted something new on Disney Plus every week, like to keep people by paying for the subscription, and they thought that they could just pump out crap after crap after crap, and people just eat it up. And while there was a couple of shows that I enjoy, for the most part, it's a one and done. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and I hope that, you know, the next Marvel. Like again, I was only in a stream earlier, and they were talking about Doomsday, and I thought to myself, like, Jesus, bro, where are we in a couple of years' time if Doomsday's not good? Where are we as a fan base then? Like,
I mean,
if this movie's not good, bro, what are we gonna do?
it really doesn't seem like it's going to be good. Um,
I'm
it
praying
just,
it's good. I'm praying it's going to be like, I don't think it's going to be Infinity War again. I don't think that's ever possible. I think that was the peak. I don't think we're
mhm.
ever going to get better than that. Not for at least 20 years, until there's like a new universe fully formed and they do some fucking epic story. Like I think the only way the only way you beat that is if, you know, in 20 years time when the IP is fully restored and they can, you know, do all the characters and maybe properly adapt some of these storylines like the way they were intended. That's the only way they potentially beat what we've had so far. But right now, like there's no way this movie's going to be as good as Infinity War, but I'm praying it's as good as Endgame. I'm praying it's as good as like Civil War. But I don't know, man. I just there's part of me thinking, Jesus, imagine it's not. Like, where are we going to be? Like
I mean, it
the last thing I want to do is boot up this stream and start talking shit about Doomsday when the day comes. Like I'll be so sad, man. I'll be so sad if it's not good.
it's just not, excuse me, it's just not like integrating the way that it should. I think there's too many different stories that are not trying to clash together, and we've talked
Yeah,
about this multiple times.
yeah,
You know, we're not getting the connections the way that we want. We're not getting like, you know, all the things that we just that like in a sense, like I'm not trying to say we're entitled, but like at the very least we deserve to
mm,
have the same connections that we did previously. Like at what point did they decide to go, okay, we're just gonna be like a flying dick in space and just try to hit whatever the fuck we can? You know, when they were going in the direction of She-Hulk, I'm like, that makes sense because now you have Jennifer Walters. You have, you know, you've had Bruce Banner. You can introduce She-Hulk. She-Hulk is a great character. You can bring her in. It's going to be great. And they flopped it. When they brought in Miss Marvel, it's like, great. You had Captain Marvel. You know, that's her idol. That's something that she could represent. She can make the costume based upon the Captain Marvel design. And originally, Captain Marvel was called Miss Marvel. So, you know, it fits in. But then they decide to go in, you know, in the direction of feelings. Like every single time that we had any sort of like work in progress, it got shut down by emotions. And
yeah,
yes, emotions exist in comic books, but they don't exist everywhere. They exist only after or before the combat's beginning. But they do it so hard in like it's unbearable. Like you can't make your show 80% emotion, 20% combat. That's not how things work. Like when you think of Spider-Man, what do you think? It's like, okay, shit, I just got into a fight with Aunt May. Like, imagining yourself as Peter Parker. I just got into a fight with Aunt May, but I gotta go. I got school. I got class. I don't have time to think about this shit. So then it kind of like droves off. So it's like, what the fuck was that about? It's like, well, we'll find out later. Then you have the combats with, different characters, like maybe Chameleon pops up or Scorpion or Rhino or such. Then you have the fights. Then, he comes home, he's exhausted, and it's like, hey, Aunt May, I'm really sorry that we had this fight. I understand that you're still my, basically my guardian and you're taking care of me. I should be more forward with you. Like you can hear the fucking, the gears are turning while he's in combat because not only does he have to fight and protect, New York, he's also got to protect the people he loves by not making them feel like they're nothing. So it's just this nice soup that they give us that it's perfect. Yeah. You have the conflict at the beginning, you have your combat in the middle, then you have your resolution in the end. And that's always how it works with Spider-Man. That's why Spider-Man's so good, because we can all relate to that. You're about to start your day, you're a kid, you're about to start your day, you go and you have a fight with your mother or something. You have an argument because she told you that you were supposed to do laundry and now you're out of clean clothes because she didn't have time to take care of this. Like, well, you're my mom, trying to tell her she's your mom, she's supposed to do everything. It's like you don't understand the exhaustion that she's giving and whatnot. And so throughout your day, when you're going to school, when you're working on your stuff, you're still thinking about it, right? You're still kind of like, well, shit, maybe I am a dickhead for not doing my own laundry. And then you go home and then you start doing your laundry and then you reconcile things with your mother. And it's like, shit, all I had to do was be a little bit more so that she didn't have to worry about me. And it's so beautiful when stories are told that way. Lately, it's just been yeah, fight, combat, great, cool. And then 6 episodes of man, I want to get into a relationship so bad. Oh man, my parents are so worried about me and I can't be a superhero if my parents are all constantly worried about me. And there's no combat. There's nothing going on. It's the least of your worries now. Combat is the least of your worries. It's all about relationships and parents and your family and whatnot. It's stop trying to feed that down my fucking throat. Let me enjoy some superhero work. There are multiple comic runs where it's all it is nonstop, just fucking investigations, combat and whatnot. We could totally have that. And it's they're just boiling it down and going you know what? I think we need to be in touch with our feelings. And it's fair, but don't shove it down my throat. Give me time to think about it. The whole thing with She-Hulk and her wanting to be in a relationship and she doesn't want to be She-Hulk. And it's what the fuck are you talking about? She-Hulk is literally the embodiment of what you desire for your character. In the comics, she's so gung-ho. She's so confident in herself. She wants to stay as She-Hulk because that's what she believes is her perfect form. Mm-hmm. She gets to live what most women don't get to do.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing, is the fantasy behind it is that the women are fuck. God damn, if I were She-Hulk, if I had that kind of ability, fuck yeah, I'd be like that, because then I'd be in perfect shape no matter what. I'd be in tip top. I could fight whoever I want. I'm never scared of anything. I can protect myself. That's what you want. You want that whole perspective of holy shit, I'm Spider-Man. I can web crawl. I could swing across New York. I don't have to take the bus. I'm my own transportation. I can protect myself from anything. I can protect people. I could do whatever I want.
Fuck
but
yeah.
Shit, I got homework. It's
yeah. That's coming. Let's go.
Yeah.
just before we break for the evening, because I know we're getting close to 2 hours, and I only found out because we were live for over 2 hours a couple of weeks ago, and the StreamYard thing doesn't let me create clips on the channel if the stream's over 2 hours. So I want to try and keep it below 2 hours because the AI won't scan if it's over 2 hours for creating clips, and I don't want to have to do them manually. So if we can keep it below 2 hours, that'd be fantastic. But there's one thing I wanted to watch. Remember we watched that Star Wars thing last week?
Sure.
Episode 2 of it's out, and I thought we could watch that. I haven't watched it yet myself, so I'm watching it blind for the first time. So I thought it'd be cool if we could watch this series together, and I enjoyed listening to it last week with you and getting your opinion on it. So I'm going to boot up episode 2. Apologies to anyone who is listening to us, because these videos have cool art and everything in them. So maybe jump over to YouTube and watch it. Here we go.
Glad you guys liked my fan fiction for Snoke. As promised, let's continue on to part 2.
Sorry.
I'd like to ask you to do one thing
Are you good?
to begin, and that's just hit the like button. It helps more people see this.
Oops. Oh God, no. Sorry, I'm not sure here.
Oh, you're good.
I went to full screen it, clicked the wrong button. Come on.
I'd like to ask you to do one thing for me before we begin.
Does that sound
just
okay?
hit the like button.
Yeah.
Want it louder?
More people see this video.
No, you're good. I think it's good.
Thanks, guys. Luke Skywalker had restored hope to the galaxy. The Empire had fallen, the Jedi were returning, and for a brief time there was peace. But that peace, of course, didn't last. Luke felt it first. A disturbance, subtle but cold, like a wound reopening in the Force. He followed it. He shouldn't have, but he did. The trail led him to Snoke. This was their only direct confrontation, and it nearly ended both of their lives. Luke found him on a world steeped in the dark side, a place the old Jedi had erased from their archives, hoping no one would ever find it again. Thanks to the Emperor's archives that Luke had found, he knew how to get to this place, and he definitely did find it. The terrain here was very jagged. The sky was bruised with lightning, and beneath its surface, the Force churned like a living storm. Snoke was waiting, not as a man, but as a presence. Half alive, half devoured by the very power that he tried to control. His body was already disfigured, his skin cracked from the strain of holding so much energy that reality itself seemed to resist him. He greeted Luke not with a challenge, but a smile.
Skywalker,
he said, his voice echoing through the Force.
You came looking for the end of the Sith. You found something worse.
Luke drew his lightsaber.
Oh, that's cool.
Emerald green glow, as bright as we remember. The duel that followed wasn't just physical. Every clash of their power rippled across the galaxy.
Can you hear the lightsaber noises and stuff?
Disturbance only lay
Oh yeah, absolutely.
from halfway across the stars. Lightning and fire erupted across the ruins, the Force itself screaming through the air. This was a fight that would be so dramatic, so epic, that it would almost completely shadow out the Mustafar duel of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And yes, of course, I would love to see Nick Gillard to choreograph this fight. Now, Snoke, of course, doesn't have a lightsaber, so how is he fighting? Well, he's literally fighting with a Force lightsaber. He is that powerful. Still weak, but very strong. Luke fought as he had never fought before. Every strike carried the strength of the masters who came before him. Yoda's wisdom, Obi-Wan's calm, Anakin's precision, and Qui-Gon's balance. He was the living embodiment of the Jedi. He was all of them. But Snoke wasn't a Sith bound by rules. He fought with corruption, draining the energy of everything around him. Life, light, and memory. Each time Luke struck, Snoke absorbed that energy. Luke wasn't just fighting. When he fought, he was using the Force to enhance his speed, enhance his thinking, enhance his perception into the Force itself, and his reflexes. Snoke absorbed all of this, reshaping the Force around it. And when Luke realized that he couldn't win this alone, he reached out through the Force, and the Force answered. Yoda, Anakin, and Obi-Wan appeared beside him, not as distant ghosts, but as luminous figures, their energy flickering like the sun through water. Together, they struck at Snoke with every ounce of power that they could summon, and for a moment, just a moment, they overwhelmed him. Then Snoke turned his focus on the impossible. He reached not for Luke, but for the spirits themselves, for they too were made of the Force. He stretched his hand into the luminous Force and fed. His sights were on Obi-Wan, whose ghost was beginning to flicker.
No,
his voice
not
cried
Obi-Wan.
out through the currents of light. Luke! Before the glow of his form was drawn into Snoke's grasp, Luke watched in horror as his master's spirit, the mentor who guided him since Tatooine, was devoured. Snoke didn't just consume Obi-Wan's essence, he absorbed it. His aura changed, rippling with the faintest echo of Kenobi's calm voice twisted into mockery. "The Force will be with you," he whispered. "Always."
Oh man, I can't believe he actually
Everything
killed
he had, letting go of the
Kenobi.
restraint that made
How
him
dare you.
Jedi. The ground shattered beneath his feet, the Force exploding outwards in raw fury. His blade struck true, carving through Snoke's side and unleashing a blinding burst of light. When it cleared, Snoke was down, his body burned, scarred, his form broken. The pain was real, but the victory wasn't. Luke collapsed. His arm was scorched, the air around him thin and poisonous with dark energy, and as Snoke laughed through the smoke, Luke felt his own connection to the Force slipping away. That was when Yoda and Anakin appeared beside him, their forms weak and flickering as well, but still holding the remnants of light. They shielded him from Snoke's final attack, the blast that would have ended him. The three of them, Luke and the last of the Force spirits, disappeared in a flash of energy. The Force itself intervened, pulling Luke across space to the one place that Snoke couldn't reach, Ahch-To. This wasn't done by design. This was pure luck and chance that the Force ghosts ended up transporting him here to this random island somewhere
That's
in the
Ireland,
galaxy.
by the way.
They were unable to commune with him
I've
any
been there.
longer, for they were becoming too weak, and they were too afraid that their energies would lead Snoke to him. They disappeared as soon as Luke landed on the island. And when he woke,
That's the
he
only
was
thing I liked
broken,
about the sequel.
not in
Is they were
body,
shot
but
in
in
Ireland.
faith. He'd won nothing. Snoke lived, damaged, scarred, more powerful than ever, and now carrying with him the stolen remnants of Obi-Wan Kenobi's essence. Luke could feel it, faintly echoing in the dark, the voice of his master now trapped inside of a monster. So Luke made his choice. He severed his connection to the Force completely. He believed it was the only way to stop Snoke from finding him again, because he knew if he saw Snoke once more, that this would be the end of him. Snoke was now more powerful by the day, and with Obi-Wan's energy absorbed, he would surely destroy Luke and go after all of the people that he loved. If he cut himself off, he could disappear entirely, no presence, no light for Snoke to follow. And he would study, he would train as much as he could, not in the Force, but in his mind. Because if Snoke ever found him, he would consume him just as he had Obi-Wan, and if he gained Luke's full power, he would become unstoppable. Leia didn't know, Han didn't know. They searched for him for years, believing that he had abandoned them. But maybe Luke wasn't hiding out of fear or cowardice. He was protecting them, protecting the galaxy itself. In essence, from himself. When Rey finally found him, he wasn't angry because she'd interrupted his solitude. He was terrified. He thought she'd led Snoke straight to him, because Luke knew what no one else did. If Snoke ever found him again, it wouldn't just end the Jedi, it would end everything. And that brings us right to essentially the beginning of The Last Jedi. So now we have an understanding of why Luke actually went away to this island, try to design something in the very confined world of the sequel trilogy that they created. So we do know, at least in the EU, that teleportation does also exist. However, I think it's a little bit on the nose if we use something from one of the new canon books as well. So with Luke landing on this planet, he doesn't have time to go off and tell anyone anything. So he's just cut himself off from the Force entirely, and he uses this time to study the Jedi texts. He uses this time to train in his mind, away from the Force, and essentially how we saw him was, well, we'll never see him like that again in this version, But the reason he is off on that island is to cut himself off from the Force and is to stay away from Snoke until he can figure out how to defeat him. So it's completely different than what we saw in the film, where he went there to die, as he says, which is not Luke Skywalker. It's not what George wrote for his character, and it's just a coward. So I think that this is already leading it up to a much more plausible explanation as to why Luke had to go away, why he disappeared, why he cut himself off from the Force itself and abandoned his religion. It's not because he didn't believe in it anymore. It's because he was afraid that he would lose, that he would die, and Snoke would get all of his powers, the powers of the Chosen One's son, and then he would be unstoppable. So he knew he would have a better chance if he actually was to just cut himself off from everything and train and learn and study. And so this also falls in line with the movie that, the ghosts didn't reach out to him, blah, 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 for all of this reason, because they too were afraid. Now, can we get Obi-Wan Kenobi back? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But the premise here is to really be within the confines of what JJ and Rian Johnson decided to do, which was garbage in my opinion. But if I were to write this is how I would set it up after knowing all that, or at least how I would clean it up. Let's say if we're going to go into episode 9, this is how I would do it. Or if we're going to go into episode 8, let's say this is how I would do it. So hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Trying to make the best of this from what we have, but it's kind of difficult, of course. So let me know if you would like a part 3. If you do, please comment below, please leave a like, and I'll see you guys in that one. So have an awesome rest of your day. Check out theorysabers.com. We're having our big sale right now.
Nice.
Hell
yeah, dude. Hell yeah. It's like, I think they tried to explain some of this stuff in like comics and stuff like that, which I think, how many people are reading the Star Wars comic books that are based around this time? Probably not that many. So most people are probably just pissed off at what they got, and they don't really know much of the extended story that's in canon. But I think they did try and explain some of this stuff in canon, if I'm not mistaken. Like where they had said that, Luke had met him before and they fought, and Luke basically almost lost, and that's why he ran away. And it'd just be nice if they actually put that stuff into the film and, let us actually see it happen, because then it would make a lot more sense to when you see him becoming like a hermit at the end and you're like, why the fuck is Luke here? He's the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. Like, what is he afraid of? Like, where's his order? Like, I don't know. There was too many questions and it just felt so unfinished that I think it was just such a failure, which sucks because, as you know, and as people know, I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and all I wanted was for those movies to be good, and they just really weren't.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's a pain in the ass, dude. When it's just creative differences, not wanting to check the source material, not wanting to go by the books. I was just talking to someone about this. Like it said, it would have been so much cooler had they gone through the extended universe and actively pulled from all the stories that they had, with
Mara Jade and everything, and
Mara Jade and Luke kind of joining with the dark side for a while, but at the same time doing his best to resist it. But then by the time that things were getting a little out of hand, he was starting to kind of be influenced, and he was trying to pull himself back from it and whatnot. The fact that his kids help him to pull out of that darkness, and and even in the later books when we find out that Cade Solo and or is it Cade Solo or Cade Skywalker? I can't remember. Basically, he's one of the most powerful Jedi ever to exist, because he's actually in the gray, where he kind of dabbles in both the dark and light sides, and he actually learns to he actually figures out how to revive a person and bring them back to life. And it's that's all the shit that we wanted, back in the day, in the prequel series. We saw that Anakin wanting to
this whole mission,
prevent wanting to prevent deaths, wanting to prevent Padme's death, and trying to find a way to to obtain the power necessary so that she wouldn't die, but then ultimately fulfilling that destiny because he's the reason why she ended up, dying from giving birth because she was so stressed out. And then she gave birth to the twins and whatnot. And so like, it's so good. Like it carries over. And then like, you get this, like, finally like this moment of like, holy shit, someone actually did it. And it's so good.
It's so frustrating that in episode 9, Ray's just able to heal and they don't even make a big deal out of it.
No.
It's so fucking stupid, man.
And then they kiss.
Yeah. Like the person who's been like the villain and her arch nemesis for the entire thing, she just falls in love with in 20 seconds. And in the last movie, you're one right. Like they literally were working on the script for the movie as they were shooting it, and she didn't even know who she was while they were filming episode 9. So they didn't even know where they were going. Do you know what I mean? Episode 7 had a clear vision. J.J. Abrams had a vision of what he wanted to do. Then they brought in Rian Johnson. He went a completely different way with it. And then they're like, oh, shit, let's get J.J. back because everyone liked episode 7. J.J., fix everything, fix it all. And then he goes in a direction. And then I heard as well that when he was sitting at the premiere, his final cut wasn't the movie that they aired. So he was sitting watching the premiere of the film going, what the fuck is this? This is my movie. And they cut out so much and changed so much in the post-production and editing of the film that his final cut wasn't the actual movie that was submitted. So
it's ridiculous, man.
Oh, bro, it's so stupid, man. So stupid. Yeah, like it's just crazy that a Star Wars fan like Theory can just sit down and make more sense of it. Now I know obviously it's a bit easier.
It's just a theory.
It's easier to sit there and tell a story and go, this is what they should have done. Obviously putting those ideas to the big screen is harder to do, but do you know what I mean? It's Disney, it's Star Wars, it's a $4 billion IP. Like, they should be able to make anything possible. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're working on these crazy $300 million movie budgets. Like, why can't they just tell these stories? But that's a conversation for another day, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it there for the night, man. It's nearly 1 a.m. for me, my time, so I gotta get some sleep. I got work tomorrow, but it's great chat as always, and I appreciate anybody who's hanging out with us live, or if you're listening to us on a replay and you've gotten to this point, thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, all that beautiful YouTube nonsense, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.